you're part of a team, the Mets, that started off poorly, obviously, and they had this big boost. Do you think this could be that thing that the Jets needed?
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the Mets because the one thing that I really believe got them through that early difficulty was their manager, was Carlos Mendoza. And being around Carlos Mendoza, and listen, I'm not around Robert Saleh on a day in, day out basis, but certainly keeping up with everything that goes on over there and watching these press conferences and how he talks to the media, there's a distinct difference between the two. And I think that the biggest difference to me is a conviction and a steadiness, right? You want that leader to be 100% convicted in what he's doing, in what he's saying, whether or not the reaction publicly or privately is positive. And that is what it's been somewhat surprising to see from a first year manager in Carlos Mendoza. But we have not seen that over the years with Robert Saleh. We didn't see that recently when it came to him saying, well, maybe the cadence from Aaron Rodgers, maybe that's part of the reason that you're seeing all these pre-snap penalties. And then as soon as Aaron Rodgers said, well, hold on a second, maybe his cadence should be used and viewed as a weapon, maybe there's another answer. Maybe it's holding guys accountable. To have Robert Saleh then come back to the podium and flip-flop on that, that's not something that you want to hear from a coach, from a leader. And so, for me, I think, again, you need some really strong leadership in any professional sports league, but especially in the NFL, especially with football players. And I just don't get the sense that Saleh completely had the total control that was necessary, that was needed in this room. And at times, I think because he was such a nice guy, he walked this line of trying to be the friend, trying to publicly have players' backs when there were times where they needed a little bit of a kick in the rear. And he never really gave that to them, certainly not publicly. And I'm not sure that he did that privately. And so, again, when you talk about where this team is right now, you're right. Everything is in front of them, Jeane. They still have plenty of opportunities to turn this into the season that they needed. But maybe this change is that wake-up call that's needed. And, maybe Jeff Ulbrich can be the type of CEO that Saleh just wasn't with this team. And I'm going to say one other thing because then I'm going to have to go because, like you said, you mentioned the Mets. Apparently there's something going on over in Queens today that I got to get to. But we talked, a little bit before the season, Willie. I remember, when we were just getting together, and the one fear that I think we all had when you talked about the expectations for this season was that, okay, the talent is clearly there, and maybe the talent is good enough to win the division in the regular season. But when you start getting into the postseason and into the deep rounds of the postseason and, the championship games, the Super Bowl, is Robert Saleh going to be the guy that out schemes or equally schemes up a team against an Andy Reid, against a Kyle Shanahan? When you get to those stages, when you are trying to win a Super Bowl, the coaches need to elevate whatever is on the field, whatever their cards have been dealt at that point in the season when it's a war of attrition. And we had not seen the Jets ever out scheme opponents, certainly on the offensive end, sometimes on the defensive end, but certainly on the offensive end. And with this talent, you needed somebody that was going to do that. And so, again, to take it full circle here, I think this was a move that had to be made if the Jets had any chance of turning this season into the year ultimately that they want it to be.